The vast emptiness of space lit up with explosions. Beams of energy crisscrossed the darkness, connecting distant dots of light. These dots were not stars, but massive warships locked in a fierce battle. This was not just any fight. It was the largest space battle the galaxy had ever seen. On one side was the Galactic Alliance, a coalition of the most advanced alien races. They had ruled the galaxy for thousands of years. Their ships were huge, their weapons were strong, and their soldiers were brave. They thought they were unbeatable. On the other side was a mysterious enemy. No one knew where they came from or what they wanted. Their ships were smaller and looked weak, but they fought with a fierce determination that surprised everyone. In the middle of this chaos floated the biggest ship of all. It was the flagship of the Galactic Alliance. Its name was Star Crusher, and it lived up to its name. It was as big as a small moon and bristled with weapons. On the bridge of this mighty vessel stood General Orcs. He was tall, with blue skin and 4 arms. His eyes glowed with a cold red light. Orcs was famous throughout the galaxy. He had won 100 battles and crushed a dozen rebellions. He thought this battle would be no different. Status report. Orcs barked. His voice was like gravel in a blender. A nervous officer, half Orcs' size, hurried over. General, we are winning on all fronts. The enemy's main fleet is in retreat. Orcs allowed himself a small smile. Excellent. Pursue and destroy them. Show no mercy. But sir, the officer hesitated. There's something strange. Orcs' smile vanished. Explain. Well, sir, there's this small ship. It's causing a lot of trouble for our forces. Orcs laughed. It sounded like rocks falling down a mountain. One small ship against our mighty fleet. Absurd. The officer gulped. Yes, sir, but this ship, it's different. It's destroyed 3 of our cruisers already. And we can't seem to hit it. Orcs' laughter died. His red eyes narrowed. Show me, he growled. The main screen lit up. It showed a part of the battle near the edge of the fight. There, darting between Alliance ships, was a tiny vessel. It moved like nothing Orcs had ever seen. It spun, it rolled, it seemed to break the laws of physics. And everywhere it went, Alliance ships exploded. Impossible, Orcs muttered, but he couldn't deny what he was seeing. Just then, another officer shouted, General, the enemy ship is heading this way. Orcs stood straighter. Good, he said. Let it come. We'll show this upstart what real power is. He turned to his weapons officer. Target that ship with everything we have. I want it destroyed. Yes, sir, the weapons officer said. His fingers flew over the controls. The Star Crusher's weapons came to life. Beams of energy, missiles, and strange alien weapons all fired at once. The space around the small ship filled with death. But somehow, the ship dodged everything. It rolled and spun, never staying still. Not a single shot hit it. Orcs couldn't believe his eyes. What kind of pilot could do this? He wondered aloud. As if in answer, a message came through. It was from the small ship. This is your last warning, a voice said. It sounded strange to Orcs' ears. Retreat now, or face the consequences. Orcs laughed again, but this time there was a note of uncertainty in it. You dare threaten me? Do you know who I am? I am General Orcs, conqueror of 1,000 worlds. I don't care if you're the king of the universe, the voice replied. This is your last chance. Run away now. Orcs was speechless for a moment. Then rage filled him. Enough of this, he roared. All ships, focus fire on that vessel. I want it destroyed now. The space around the small ship lit up again as every Alliance ship in range opened fire. Orcs watched, sure that this would be the end of the annoying little pest. But to his shock, the ship not only survived, it started to attack. It flew straight at the Star Crusher, dodging everything thrown at it. For the first time in his long life, General Zorks felt fear. As the small ship grew larger on the screen, he had a strange feeling. Somehow, he knew that everything was about to change. The small ship zoomed towards the Star Crusher. It moved so fast that it was just a blur on the screen. General Zorks watched with wide eyes. He had never seen anything like this before. "Sir, what should we do?" a scared officer asked. Zorks snapped out of his shock. "Engage close-range defenses," he ordered, "and prepare for possible boarding." The Star Crusher's outer layer lit up. Thousands of small gun turrets appeared. They all aimed at the approaching ship, but even with so many guns, they couldn't hit it. The small ship was too fast, too agile. Suddenly, the ship slowed down. It stopped right in front of the Star Crusher's main viewport. For the first time, Zorks could see it clearly. It was tiny compared to the Star Crusher. It looked like a fighter craft, meant for 1 or 2 pilots at most. Its design was strange. Unlike any ship Zorks had ever seen, it was sleek and smooth, with no visible weapons. "Magnify the image," Zorks commanded. The screen zoomed in on the small ship's cockpit. What Zorks saw made him gasp. There was only one pilot, and it wasn't wearing any armor or protective gear. It looked soft, weak. Its skin was pale and bare. It had no claws, no tentacles, not even an exoskeleton. Just 2 arms, 2 legs, and a round head with a tuft of fur on top. Zorks couldn't help it. He started to laugh. "This," he said between laughs, "this is what's been causing us so much trouble. This soft thing." The bridge crew looked at each other, confused. They didn't understand what was so funny. Zorks kept laughing. He opened a communication channel to the small ship. "You there, in the tiny ship," he said, still chuckling. "What are you?" Some kind of joke. The pilot didn't respond. It just stared at Zorks through the view screen. Zorks' laughter died down. He felt annoyed. "Answer me, you pathetic creature. Don't you know who I am? I am General Zorks, the most feared warrior in the galaxy." Still, the pilot said nothing. It just kept staring. Zorks felt his anger rising. "Fine," he growled. "If you won't talk, then you'll die. All batteries, fire." Every weapon on the Star Crusher fired at once. The space around the small ship filled with laser beams, missiles, and energy blasts. It looked like nothing could survive such an attack. But when the smoke cleared, the small ship was still there. It hadn't moved. It didn't have a scratch. Zorks couldn't believe his eyes. How is this possible?" he muttered. Suddenly, the pilot moved. It reached out and pressed something inside its ship. A moment later, a voice filled the Star Crusher's bridge. "Are you done?" the voice asked. It sounded calm, almost bored. Zorks was too shocked to speak. One of his officers answered instead. "Who? What are you?" the officer asked. "I'm human," the voice replied. "And I'm here to end this war." The bridge went silent. Everyone looked at Zorks. They were waiting for him to say something, to do something. But Zorks just stood there, staring at the screen. A human. Zorks had heard stories about humans. They were supposed to be myths, legends, weak creatures from a distant part of the galaxy. But they were also said to be dangerous, unpredictable. Some even said they were indestructible. Zorks had never believed those stories. Until now. He looked at the human in the small ship. It looked so weak, so easy to crush. But it had survived everything Zorks had thrown at it. It had destroyed 3 cruisers. It had made Zorks, the great general, look like a fool. For the first time in his life, Zorks didn't know what to do. He realized that everything was about to change. The galaxy would never be the same again. And it was all because of this one small, human dot. Errol Zorks felt fear. As the small ship grew larger on the screen, he had a strange feeling. Somehow, he knew that everything was about to change. The bridge of the Star Crusher was silent. Everyone was staring at the small human ship on the screen. General Zorx's mind was racing. He had to do something. He couldn't let his crew see him scared. Zorx straightened up and cleared his throat. "Human," he said, trying to sound brave. "You say you're here to end this war. How do you plan to do that? Your ship is tiny. You're all alone." The human's voice came through again, calm as ever. "Size isn't everything, General. Haven't you learned that yet?" Zorx felt his anger rising again. This human was mocking him. "Enough talk," he shouted. "If you won't surrender, then we'll destroy you." The human sighed. "I guess we're doing this the hard way," it said. Suddenly, the human ship started to move. It darted away from the Star Crusher's front viewport. Zorx lost sight of it. "Where did it go?" Zorx demanded. "Sir, it's everywhere," an officer cried out. The main screen changed to show the space around the Star Crusher. The human ship was zipping around, moving faster than anything Zorx had ever seen. It was flying circles around the huge battleship. "Fire! Fire everything!" Zorx ordered. The Star Crusher's weapons came to life again. Lasers, missiles, and energy beams filled the space around the ship. But none of them could hit the human ship. It was too fast, too agile. Then the human ship started to attack. It flew close to the Star Crusher's hull. Wherever it passed, explosions followed. The human was targeting the battleship's weapons, destroying them one by one. "Impossible," Zorx muttered. "How could one small ship do so much damage?" The bridge shook as another explosion rocked the Star Crusher. Warning alarms started to blare. "Sir, we've lost 30% of our weapons," an officer reported. "Shields are down to 50%. Zorx couldn't believe it. His mighty ship, the pride of the Galactic Alliance, was being taken apart by a single human in a tiny ship. "Send out our fighters," Zorx ordered. All of them. Hundreds of small ships poured out of the Star Crusher. They swarmed towards the human ship like angry insects. For a moment, Zorx thought he had won. Surely the human couldn't fight all of these ships at once. But he was wrong. The human ship flew straight into the swarm of fighters. What happened next was like a dance. The human ship spun and twisted, never staying still for a second. Fighters exploded left and right, either hit by the human's weapons or crashing into each other as they tried to keep up. In less than a minute, half of Zorx's fighters were destroyed. The rest were flying away, trying to escape. Zorx's legs felt weak. He sat down heavily in his command chair. This couldn't be happening. It had to be a nightmare. "Sir," a scared voice said. Zorx looked up. All of his officers were staring at him, waiting for orders. They looked terrified. Zorx opened his mouth, but no words came out. What could he say? What could he do against this force of nature? The human's voice filled the bridge again. "Ready to talk now, General." Zorx looked at the screen. The human ship was back, floating calmly in front of the Star Crusher. It didn't have a scratch. In that moment, Zorx understood. He had been wrong. So very wrong. This human, this creature he had laughed at, was the most dangerous thing he had ever met. With a shaking hand, Zorx reached for the communication button. "Ah, yes," he said, his voice barely a whisper. "Let's talk." As Zorx prepared to face the human, he realized that everything he knew about warfare, about strength, about the galaxy itself, was about to change. And it was all because of one small human in one small ship. The universe, Zorx thought, would never be the same again. General Zorx sat in his command chair, his four hands gripping the armrests tightly. His blue skin had turned a pale shade, almost white with fear. The bridge of the Star Crusher was silent except for the beeping of damaged consoles. Open a channel to the human ship," Zorx said, his voice shaking. A young officer pressed a few buttons. "Channel open, sir." Zorx took a deep breath. "Human," he said, trying to sound calm. "You have impressed us with your skills. Perhaps we can discuss terms." There was a moment of silence. Then the human's voice came through, still sounding calm and almost friendly. "Sure, General. But first, how about we talk face to face?" Zorks blinked in surprise. "Face to face? But how? Your ship is too small to dock with ours." The human chuckled. "Who said anything about docking?" Suddenly, alarms blared across the bridge. "Sir," an officer shouted, "the human ship, it's gone." "What do you mean, gone?" Zorks demanded. "It just disappeared, sir. 1 second it was there. The next, nothing." Zorks stood up, looking around wildly. "Find it. It has to be somewhere." Just then, a strange sound filled the bridge. It was like air being sucked out of a room, followed by a soft pop. Zorks turned towards the sound. There, standing in the middle of the bridge, was the human. Zorks and his crew stared in shock. The human was even smaller up close. It wore a simple suit that seemed to shimmer slightly. Its head was bare, showing pale skin and dark fur on top. The human looked around the bridge, seeming curious. Then it focused on Zorks and smiled. "Hello, General," it said. "Nice ship you've got here." Zorks couldn't speak. His mind was racing. How did the human get here? Where was its ship? And why wasn't it attacking? The human took a step forward. Immediately, every alien on the bridge took a step back. The human noticed and stopped, holding up its hands. "Easy there," it said. "I'm not here to hurt anyone." Zorks finally found his voice. "Who? What are you?" he asked. The human's smile widened. "I told you, I'm human. My name is Alex, and I'm here to change everything you think you know about the galaxy." Zorks shook his head. "Impossible. Humans are just a myth, a story to scare young aliens." Alex laughed. It was a strange sound to the aliens' ears. "Oh, we're very real, General. We've just been laying low for a while, watching, learning. But you look so weak," one of the officers blurted out. Alex turned to the officer, still smiling. "Looks can be deceiving. Want a demonstration?" Before anyone could react, Alex moved. It was so fast that Zorks' eyes couldn't follow. 1 second, Alex was standing in the middle of the bridge. The next, it was next to the officer who had spoken. The officer yelped and tried to run, but Alex reached out and grabbed the alien's arm. The alien was twice Alex's size, with muscles that could bend steel, but it couldn't move. Alex held it in place with seemingly no effort. "See," Alex said, still sounding friendly. "Humans are full of surprises." Zorks felt his legs go weak. He sat down heavily in his chair. What do you want?" he asked. Alex let go of the officer and walked over to Zorks. "Like I said, I'm here to end this war. But more than that, I'm here to introduce humanity to the galaxy." Zorks looked up at the human. For the first time, he saw past the small size and soft features. He saw the strength in Alex's eyes, the confidence in its stance. This wasn't just a powerful warrior. This was the representative of a species that could change everything. I think we have a lot to talk about," Zorks said quietly. Alex nodded, its smile turning serious. "Yes, General, we certainly do. The galaxy is about to change, and humans, we're going to be right in the middle of it all." As Zorks prepared to start the most important conversation of his life, he realized that the war was already over. A new era was beginning. And it all started with one small, surprising human. The bridge of the Star Crusher was quiet. General Zorks sat in his command chair, staring at the human called Alex. The alien crew watched nervously, not sure what to do. Alex looked around the bridge, then back at Zorks. "So, General," the human said, "shall we talk about ending this war?" Zorks nodded slowly. "Yes, But how? Our leaders have been fighting for years. They won't just stop because one human says so. Alex smiled. It wasn't a friendly smile this time. It was the smile of someone who knew a secret. They will if they know what's good for them, Alex said. Suddenly, alarms started blaring again. An officer rushed to a console. "General," he shouted, "we're detecting multiple new ships. They're everywhere." Orcs jumped up. "What? Show me." The main screen lit up. Orcs' eyes went wide. The space around the Star Crusher was filled with ships. Human ships. They had appeared out of nowhere, just like Alex had. There were hundreds of them. No, thousands. Some were small, like Alex's ship. Others were huge, even bigger than the Star Crusher. They surrounded Orcs' fleet completely. "Impossible," Orcs whispered. "Where did they come from?" Alex walked up next to Orcs. "We've been here all along, General. Watching. Waiting for the right moment." Orcs turned to Alex. "But why? Why reveal yourselves now?" Alex's face turned serious. "Because this war of yours is threatening the entire galaxy. It's time someone put a stop to it." Just then, another alarm sounded. An officer called out, "Sir, we're getting reports from all over the fleet. Human ships are appearing on every vessel." Orcs couldn't believe it. "You're taking over my entire fleet." Alex nodded. "Not just your fleet, General. We're taking control of both sides of this war. Right now, humans are appearing on every major ship in both fleets." The bridge crew gasped. Orcs fell back into his chair. "But how?" he asked. "We have technology you can't even imagine," Alex said. "We can teleport across vast distances. We can make our ships invisible. We can do things your scientists would call magic." Orcs looked at the screen again. The human fleet was still there, surrounding them. He realized that his mighty Star Crusher, the pride of the Galactic Alliance, was now just a small fish in a very big, very dangerous pond. "What happens now?" Orcs asked quietly. Alex's voice softened a bit. "Now, we talk peace. We're going to bring the leaders of both sides together. And we're going to end this war." "And if they refuse?" Orcs asked. Alex's eyes hardened. "Then we'll show them why humans have been the stuff of alien nightmares for so long." Orcs shivered. He believed Alex. He believed every word. "Sir," a young officer called out, "what should we do?" Orcs looked at his crew. They were scared, confused. They needed a leader. Orcs stood up, trying to look brave. "We do as the human says," Orcs announced. "Contact our leaders. Tell them the war is over." Alex nodded, looking pleased. "Good decision, General. You're smarter than you look." As the crew rushed to follow orders, Orcs turned to Alex. "You said you're going to change the galaxy. How?" Alex smiled again, but this time it was a kind smile. "By showing you a better way, General. Humans have had their own wars, their own struggles. We've learned from them. Now we can help the galaxy learn too." Orcs nodded slowly. He didn't fully understand, but he knew one thing for sure. The galaxy would never be the same again. And maybe, just maybe, that was a good thing. As Orcs watched his crew prepare for the new future, he realized that his defeat today might just lead to a better tomorrow. All thanks to one small, surprising human. The next few hours on the Star Crusher were chaos. Crew members ran back and forth, sending messages, receiving orders. General Orcs stayed on the bridge, watching it all. The human, Alex, stood nearby, calm as ever. Suddenly, a loud voice boomed through the ship. "This is Supreme Commander Kraz of the Galactic Alliance. I demand to know what is happening." Orcs looked at Alex. The human nodded. "Put him on screen," the Orcs ordered. The main screen lit up. A large, angry-looking alien appeared. He had red skin and 3 eyes. When he saw Orcs, he started yelling. "General, What is the meaning of this? Why have you ordered a ceasefire? And who are these new ships? Before Orcs could answer, Alex stepped forward. I can answer that, Commander Kraz. Kraz's 3 eyes widened in shock. What are you? I'm human, Alex said simply. And I'm here to end this war. Kraz laughed. It wasn't a nice laugh. You? End the war. Do you know how long we've been fighting? Do you know what's at stake? Alex didn't smile this time. Yes, I do. Better than you, I think. That's why we're stopping it. Kraz's face turned darker red. You can't do that. You have no authority here. Actually, Alex said, we do. He turned to someone off-screen. Show him. The view on the screen changed. It showed hundreds of human ships surrounding both fleets. Then it zoomed in on different ships. On each one, humans could be seen, talking to shocked alien crews. Kraz's mouth fell open. Impossible, he whispered. It's very possible, Alex said. We've taken control of both fleets. The war is over, Commander. Now it's time to talk peace. Kraz shook his head. Never. We'll never surrender to humans. Alex finished for him. You don't have a choice. But don't worry, we're not here to conquer you. We're here to help. Just then, another voice joined in. What is going on here? A new face appeared on the screen. This alien was tall and thin, with gray skin and large black eyes. Ah, Diplomat Zine of the Confederation, Alex said. Good of you to join us. Zine looked confused. Who are you? What is happening? Quickly, Alex explained the situation again. Zine listened quietly, his large eyes getting wider and wider. When Alex finished, Zine spoke softly. So, the war is truly over. Yes, Alex said. It's time for peace talks. Real peace talks this time. Kraz, who had been quiet, suddenly exploded. This is outrageous. We can't let these humans dictate terms to us. Zine turned to Kraz. And what would you suggest, Commander? Look at their fleet. Look at what they've done. We have no choice but to listen. Kraz opened his mouth to argue, then closed it again. He knew Zine was right. Alex smiled. Good. Now here's what's going to happen. In 1 hour, leaders from both sides will meet on a neutral ship. We'll be there to keep the peace. Orcs, who had been watching silently, finally spoke up. And what about us? What about our ships, our crews? Alex turned to him. Your people will be fine, General. We're not here to harm anyone. We just want to stop the fighting. Orcs nodded slowly. He was starting to understand. These humans weren't conquerors. They were peacekeepers. As the call ended and preparations for the meeting began, Orcs looked at Alex. You knew this would happen, didn't you? You planned all of this. Alex smiled. We've been planning for a long time, General. Humanity has been watching, learning, preparing. Now it's time for us to step onto the galactic stage. Orcs realized that this was just the beginning. The galaxy was about to change in ways no one could predict. And it all started with one small human ship and one surprising human named Alex. As Orcs prepared for the peace talks, he couldn't help but feel a little excited. For the first time in years, he had hope for the future. A future with humans in it. 1 hour later, General Orcs found himself on a neutral ship, surrounded by the most powerful beings in the galaxy. Supreme Commander Kraz and Diplomat Zine were there, along with other leaders from both sides of the war. And in the center of it all stood Alex, the human who had changed everything. The room was tense. Aliens who had been enemies for years now sat across from each other, glaring and muttering. Alex looked around the room, then spoke. Thank you all for coming, Alex said. I know this isn't easy, but it's necessary. Kraz growled. Get on with it, human. What do you want? Alex nodded. What we want is simple. We want peace, not just a ceasefire, not just a pause in fighting. Real, lasting peace. The room erupted in shouts and arguments. Alex waited patiently for it to die down. I know you all have reasons for this war, Alex continued. Old grudges, territory disputes, resource conflicts. But from where we stand, it all looks small. Zine leaned forward. What do you mean small? Alex smiled. Let me show you something. A large screen appeared in the middle of the room. On it, an image of the galaxy appeared. It was beautiful, full of swirling stars and colorful nebulae. This is our galaxy, Alex said. It's huge, isn't it? Billions of stars, trillions of planets. And yet, the image zoomed out. Suddenly, their galaxy was just one of many. Hundreds, thousands of galaxies filled the screen. This is our universe, Alex said softly. And even this isn't all there is. There are things out there we're only beginning to understand. Compared to all this, your war, it's like two ant colonies fighting over a twig while a forest fire approaches. The room was silent. Every alien was staring at the screen, their eyes wide. We humans have had our own wars, Alex continued. We fought over land, over resources, over ideas. But we learned. We grew. And when we looked up at the stars, we realized something important. Alex looked around the room, meeting each alien's eyes. We realized we're not alone. And that out here, in the vastness of space, we need each other, all of us. Orcs found himself nodding. He understood now. These humans, they saw things differently. They saw bigger. So what do you propose? Zine asked quietly. An alliance, Alex said. Not just between your two sides, but with humanity as well. We have technology we can share, knowledge we can teach. In return, we ask for peace, for cooperation, for a chance to explore this amazing universe together. The room was quiet for a long moment. Then, slowly, Kraz stood up. You speak well, human, Kraz said. But words are easy. How do we know we can trust you? Alex smiled. You don't. Not yet. Trust has to be earned. But we're willing to earn it if you're willing to give us a chance. Zine stood up next. I have seen enough war, he said. If the humans can offer a path to peace, I say we take it. One by one, the other leaders nodded or spoke their agreement. Even Kraz, after a long moment, gave a grudging nod. Alex's smile widened. Thank you. This is just the beginning. We have a lot of work ahead of us, but together, I believe we can build something amazing. As the meeting continued, details being discussed and plans being made, Orc sat back in his chair. He looked at Alex, this small human who had changed the course of galactic history in just one day. Orc realized that he had been wrong about so many things, about humans, about strength, about what really mattered in the universe. But now he had a chance to learn, to grow, to be part of something bigger than himself or his people. As he watched the former enemies start to work together, guided by Alex and the other humans, Orcs felt something he hadn't felt in years. Hope. Hope for the future. Hope for peace. Hope for a galaxy united not in war, but in exploration and discovery. The war was over. A new era was beginning, and Orcs was glad to be a part of it.